the way, if we are in the guest request, make sure we think that abortion should be illegal. What's up? Why should abortion be illegal?
I think abortion should not be illegal.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm only talking to opposition, but I appreciate you coming in here. Everyone coming in, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, y'all. We quite literally just started off. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next guest here. Let's go ahead and get our next guest up here. Let's see what Caden has to say, chat. Also, how are the viewers? Oh, okay, there they go. What's up, Caden? Do you think that abortion should be illegal?
I do think abortion should be illegal
Okay, why?
because you are taking the life of well, I guess it's not a life yet, but you're taking a potential life away.
Okay, so is taking a potential life away always going to be wrong?
Not
Think of
always,
that
but
cap.
not
So then why
always
is it wrong in this instance? Right? Because
because,
when you masturbate, you're taking a potential life away.
well,
Think of that, Harvey.
not really, because I mean, there's still a lot of steps to be taken there before that
Just
life.
like there's a lot of steps that have to be taken after the moment of conception, right?
Right. Well, I mean, not really. You're just the 9 months that you're waiting. I understand there's steps, but I think that sex is meant to reproduce and not for, to have fun. So I think if you have sex, the idea of aborting that child after is very, um, I guess, unresponsible. I think it's very unresponsible to be pregnant and then get an abortion.
I actually think it's quite responsible, right? So if a woman engages in the act of intercourse and becomes pregnant when she does not want to, I think that aborting that fetus before that fetus is like morally important is going to be an extremely responsible decision on her part, right? Because what's the best idea? To abort it when it doesn't carry any like moral importance and when it's not wrong to do so, or to be forced to go through with that pregnancy and have to have that financial burden on her for the rest of the life for the rest of her life, and potentially have to go through that trauma of childbirth, and then sufficing for a bad life for the child because it's not wanted, right? So I think like when we're talking in the context of abortion, we would have to like show like why the act in of itself is going to be morally wrong, because if it's not morally wrong, it's going to be extremely responsible. Think of
Right,
that
but
from the
I,
heart.
I think I think sex is very, very clearly meant to reproduce and not just to enjoy yourself. So I think if you're having sex, the risk of getting
That,
pregnant
Harvey.
is very, very obvious. And I think that if you're going to bear that risk, you need to be responsible enough to adhere to that risk. And if the risk, it happens, then you
Okay.
need to be responsible and follow through.
Right, so I don't think like the risk is quite like shockingly obvious as you find it to be.
But it
So
is,
like
but it
for
is though.
example, just kidding. For example, so if like a woman is on like an IUD, she has less than a 1% chance of getting pregnant, right?
Right,
And this is
but
gonna be
you
like
have,
lower. Just kidding. I let you talk. You're gonna let me
but you
talk,
didn't
right?
last time I was on
Bud,
this.
bud, 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 bud.
That's all you do,
If you
man.
keep interrupting me, I'm gonna kick you off, right? Because
That's
this is just a
embarrassing. Okay.
conversation. All right, Kaden. So like the risk isn't like in like isn't like so quite obvious, right? So if a woman's on an IUD, well then she has a less than a 1% chance of getting pregnant on any form of birth control, less than a 3. If the man uses a condom and she's not on birth control, it's less than a 5, right? And then if she's not ovulating, it's less than a 10, right? So and I think like these risks are substantially low to a point where like, it wouldn't be like so shockingly obvious that, pregnancy is going to be the result of sex. And then moving on to the next part, even if we acknowledge the risk of this action, this isn't going to like deem like abortion is wrong like automatically, right? Because like I'm
Yep.
going to say that like the what comes from the fruition of a risk is only going to be like morally relevant, or it's only going to be wrong if the action taken upon that risk is wrong, right? So like what I'm saying here, okay, pregnancy is going to be a risk of having sex,
Yes.
but now like this risk is only going to matter if terminating the pregnancy matters. So can you please tell me why like ending the life of a fetus is going to be immoral?
I think it's immoral for what I said. You're taking away a potential life, someone who's going to have. I mean, just you and I, we have the experiences that we have in life. We have all these memorable moments. That's something that could have adapted and evolved to be the same. And also, to your
Right.
to your point, you were just talking about the pregnancy being less than a 1% and all that. I think that I mean, if you don't have sex, what is the chance of getting pregnant? It's zero, correct? So I think that if this is something that you were worried about and abortion is something that, say, you go into sex with the mindset of, if I do get pregnant, I'm going to have an abortion. I think that is extremely immoral to go into sex with that mindset. And I think if you don't want to bear that risk or that responsibility, then it is much
Harvey,
more
thank you for that
responsible.
mustache.
It's much more responsible to just not have sex in the first place. Because, I mean, this is not something that we need. This is not something that is life changing. This is something that we can absolutely control. And I think that if you don't want to deal with that risk, then you just don't have
Thank
sex.
you, Grits. Right. And like, but this is all going to be stemming from the fact that you find abortion in of itself to be immoral. IC Pan, thank you for the money gun. You guys are going crazy on the gifts right now. So like about this risk thing. Well, let's talk about it. So do you think if I go and hop in my car right now and then I get T-boned at the intersection by a drunk driver that I'd be at fault at this because like I consented to the risk of this occurring?
I think that's can you ask the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so imagine like if a man has a condom on and a woman's on an IUD, there's like a 0.001% chance that that woman's gonna get pregnant, right? So and that same chance approximately could be said about me hopping in my car right now and driving it down the street and getting T-boned by a drunk driver. So what you're saying is if like they engage in this action, and then this risk like comes to fruition, such as the pregnancy, they're gonna need to take responsibility for that. So if I get into my car right now and I drive it down the street and get T-boned by a drunk driver, am I going to need to take responsibility for that?
Okay, so for you to use that point, let me know where in that situation abortion you can make something to relate to abortion because no, it wouldn't be your fault, but
Right.
where would
So
like
right. And then like
I
the
don't get
correlation is going to be that like the pregnancy is not going to be the fault of these individuals because
right, but
all
I
we're
said,
talking about now, Caden, listen, all we're talking about is these two
dude,
actions, like engaging in the act of sex or getting in your car and driving, right? And the same risk like is prevalent of getting pregnant from the sex or getting T-boned by that drunk driver, right? If you're going to say that getting T-boned by that drunk driver is not my fault, even though I consented to that risk by driving, you're going to also therefore have to say that the pregnancy is not going to be the fault of the mother, even though she consented to that risk of during sex.
right, right, but I think I guess I just don't really see the correlation between those two topics because you're saying I get what you're saying with the drunk driving, but I just don't see where the abortion part would correlate with that
Right, because
scenario.
the
It's not like
similar
you get
risks, right? Because like we
right, but
we
if you
outlined
get
like
T-boned, if you get
right,
T-boned, there's not an option after that to completely revert what happened. So I think that's a
right.
very
Right, but like that's
I,
that's where we're building towards that. Because all that we've asserted so far is that if you get T-boned, that's not at your fault, even though you consented to that risk by driving. Therefore, pregnancy would not be the fault of the mother, even though she consented to that risk by having sex, because they
but
yield the
if
same
you
risks under certain circumstances. So now
but
let's
if
move on to this potentiality argument, right? So you said like it's wrong to get an abortion because this fetus is going to be a potential person, right?
right, well, yes, well,
Right.
that and also acknowledging that it's someone who's going to have the similar experiences to you. Yes, so yes.
Right. So potential person, right? And I think that like this whole idea of a potential person is going to be like an extremely slippery slope for a couple reasons. So first of all, I mean, you acknowledge that it is just potential life. It is just a potential person. And the next big problem with this is going to be is that we could just say that, each sperm in your balls is a potential life or a potential person. At the end of the day, those are all unique human DNAs, right? And then upon that acknowledgement of this slippery slope of this potentiality that exists within the fetus, we could also acknowledge that the same potentiality does not exist within the mother, right? So the mother has actual desires, the mother has actual rights, the mother has actual personhood, and she is indeed a certain human person that is alive, right? And like you just said it yourself, the fetus only possesses these attributes in the potential way, right? So why
Right.
are we going to value like the potential rights desires of the fetus more than the actual rights and desires of the mother if we asserted with our last conversation that that pregnancy is not the fault of the mother?
Well, a fetus is living, and I think that because for a fetus to even be something that is real in the moment, it means you have already taken that risk of having sex and bearing that risk of getting pregnant. So I mean, that's
Right.
and you say it's a low percent chance, but if you go into that
Well,
realm,
Caden, you already agreed with me in the logically, like you already agreed with me, and that in the logical analogy in which I outlined that it's not going to be the fault of that driver who gets in their car then gets T-boned that they got T-boned, and that yields the same risk as having sex and getting pregnant. So we've deemed that it's not at the fault of the mother, and now the next part is just the potential argument, right? Like I don't see why under any universe we would ever give more moral consideration to this potential person person more so than the actual person, aka the mother. Like, why do we value life? Well, we value life because of what life can do. Caroline, I appreciate that, Swan. Thank you so much. Like, within humanity, like, what can we do? Like, we're very, like, and like, we can, like, we have, like, a really high level of rationale. We have this very high level of consciousness, our sentience, our subjective experiences, and our desires, right? But none of these attributes the fetus possesses, right? But all of these attributes the mother certainly possesses. So I think it seems very reasonable that we should value or consider the mother more so than the fetus.
Right, but I guess I'm also
Thank you
confused.
for that
Just a
little
minute
crown.
ago, with your analogy that you're using, you're telling me that it's not the mother's fault she got pregnant, and I'm really confused how anyone with any sort of, it's I just don't get how you can even draw that conclusion. How can it not be a mother's fault that she got pregnant? I'm very confused by
Right.
that.
So this just goes back to the analogy. I don't know why we keep circling back around to this,
Well, it's
okay?
not that we're
So no,
circling.
Caden, is it okay, imagine this. If I know that there's a 0.01% chance, Caroline, thank you for that hat and mustache. If I know that there's a 0.01% chance if I get in my car and drive right now that I'm going to get T-boned by a drunk driver, and then I do get T-boned by a drunk driver, is that my fault?
Um, can you make a different analogy? Because I'm disagreeing a lot with that one. I
No.
mean, you're bringing
No,
in a
no, no.
lot of.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Ask the question one more time.
If I know if I get into my car and drive right now, when it's not necessary to do so, that there is a 0.01% chance that I get T-boned by a drunk driver, and I do, is that my fault? Allie, thank
No,
you for
but
that. You
then
sweet.
with that analogy,
Right.
getting hit by a drunk driver would
Right.
mean
So
the
now
other
let me
person.
ask you another question.
All
Let me
right.
ask you
Well, you're
another
not letting me
question.
talk.
Well, you said no, right? So here's
Right,
the
but
analogy, right? Now, Kaden,
yep,
here's the analogy. If
yep.
I know if I engage in intercourse right now that there is a 0.01% chance of that woman getting pregnant, is that my fault?
It's both of your faults.
Right. So it is the fault because of the acknowledgement of risk, right?
Yep.
So why does the acknowledgement of risk in the hypothetical of the car crash not make that their fault? This is a logical contradiction.
Right. I get the contradiction, but it's a really I just think it's a really far stretch of an analogy because I mean, bringing up the drunk driver scenario, that's so assuming that there's a drunk driver, that means someone else decided to get drunk and make the wrong choice to be driving while they were drunk. There's a lot of I just don't see all the correlation here. I get the correlation of the risk, but
Yeah, because
there's a
you
lot of
can't
these.
control that other person getting drunk and driving, right?
Right, but if you have sex,
Right,
we're not
right,
we're
right,
not
right.
assuming
So
that we're.
can you control that biological process of pregnancy? No. So that's the analogy.
But you can control whether
No,
or
no,
not
no,
to
no,
bear the
no,
risk.
no, no, Caden,
But
Caden, Caden.
yes,
In the same way
but
that
yes.
you could control if you get into the car. Like here's the thing. So you just said you can't control that drunk driver getting into the car and driving. In the same way that you can't control that biological process of pregnancy occurring. You can control
But you
engaging in the
can.
act of sex in the
Yes.
same way that you can control getting into your car. This
Yeah,
is the
but the
analogy.
difference the difference with this is your example about driving is, I mean, to a certain extent, driving is necessary. People need to get to work. People need to do certain things. Sex is not necessary. You do not need to have sex. You do not need to bear this risk. So I think your
So,
analogy,
Caden, specifically within the analogy, I said it's not necessary. Yeah, what if I want to go get some ice cream? So
but
I
I'm
want to
being
go get some
realistic.
ice cream
Driving
for a
isn't real.
non-necessary. No, Caden, listen, Caden, no, 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 no. This is
Dude, you
this is
talk too
this is where
much.
it's at, Caden. I'm getting in my car because I want to go get some ice cream. It's not necessary. I have ice cream at home. If I get T-boned, is that my fault?
No,
Right? So it doesn't matter.
but realistically, driving is necessary. If you
No,
say
it's not, dude. Caden,
yes, it
engage with the
is.
hypothetical. Hey, engage with the hypothetical. Engage with the hypothetical. Right? I get in my car. It's not necessary. I get T-boned. Is it my fault?
No. Can I ask you something though?
So the necessity does not matter.
Can I ask you something while
Thank
we're
you
in
for
the
the
middle of
army.
this debate? Why do you,
Sure.
why do you feel it's so necessary to cut people off and talk? I mean, I understand it's your debate,
I'm
but
just
you
keeping
I
you on
hear
track, Caden.
but
I'm
I hear
keeping
you
you on
say all the
track.
time facts over feeling, and the fact is that a
Right, facts
debate,
over feelings. Right,
facts over
Caden, I'm
feeling. So
keeping
what
I'm
is a
keeping you
debate?
on track. I'm keeping you on
But no, no,
track.
no, no.
Right.
But facts over feeling means what is a
Please
debate?
stop crying, Caden.
I'm
Stop
not.
crying.
I don't think you
No,
understand
no,
what a
Caden.
debate is.
Caden, you're crying, right?
I'm not. I promise. I just don't think you understand what a debate
Like so.
is.
Yes, facts over feeling. And now that you've got
Yes,
shown to be wrong, you're crying.
but I haven't gotten a chance to really talk because every time I say something that you disagree with, you don't let me finish the thought. You get to break it
Well,
down
I
right then
mean,
and there.
so the analogy that I gave you was of driving being unnecessary, and
But
then your
realistically,
objection to that
driving is
is
necessary.
Yeah, tell me
People
how
need to get to
driving's
work.
necessary.
People
Bro,
need to
bro,
get to work.
Kaden, right? So, but like, okay, sure. But the thing is I outlined a case in which it's not necessary. And you still
But
said it's not wrong.
right, but it's
Kaden. I outlined a case in which it's not necessary, and you still said it wouldn't be my fault.
right.
Right. Do you get
Right,
it
but
now?
no, I still don't get it because I still don't get where you're getting that just because you bear the risk of having sex, this fetus is something that you can just if you go into sex with the thought process of if I get pregnant, I'm going to abort it. I think everything about that thought process is immoral.
Yeah, so I'll explain to you why I don't think it's immoral. Because
Okay.
when I think when we're talking about like abortion, right? What we're talking about is like ending this fetus's life, and I don't think that this is immoral because this fetus does not possess any attributes of personhood, and I think it's these attributes of personhood that grant moral value to
Yo,
living
someone sent me
things,
a
right?
galaxy. I appreciate it. Sorry.
So Kaden, let's think about it in this instance, right? So do you think that like eating hamburgers is okay?
Yes, I think eating hamburgers is okay.
So you think unaliving a cow is okay, right?
Um, yes, because
Right.
it's not intelligent being. It's not self conscious. Just your other argument you had the other night with why is being
Right.
gay wrong. You made it very clear
Caden,
that you think these animals don't have
Caden.
consciousness.
Right, right. So like
Right.
unaliving the cow is okay because it's not an intelligent being.
And
It
it
does
will
not
never be
possess
an intelligent being.
consciousness, right?
It
But
will
see, here's
never.
the symmetry breaker. Here's the symmetry breaker. The fetus is also not an intelligent being, and it does not possess consciousness,
At
right?
that very
So now
moment.
this shows, right? No, so this shows like pre 34 weeks before the thymocortical cortex, occurs, right? Before those fissures occur, it does not possess any form of consciousness. It's actually going to be like less intelligent than a cow, right? And if you're saying that unaliving a cow is okay because of this, Ava, thank you so much for that galaxy. I appreciate you. Then you're going to be logically contradictory by saying that unaliving a fetus isn't okay because of this. And your only response to this could be, well, it could potentially be, right? But see, the thing is that potentiality, thank you for the cuddle. Thank you so much. Potentiality doesn't actually exist. Like you understand that, right? The concept of potentiality is only one that exists within your mind. It is only one that is of like a figurative of speech, right? So like when we talk about potentiality, there's no like real world like matterance for it or of it. So like let's look at it this way. Like the mother actually is an intelligent being. Like she
Yes.
actually does have a consciousness. She actually is rational, right? And I don't see any reason why we should grant this thing more moral consideration than her because one day this will potentially be like her.
Not potentially, it will. It is guaranteed that at
Nope,
one point
no,
this
it
will
is
be
not
conscious.
guaranteed. Oh, it's
It
guaranteed?
is
Then why do
okay.
miscarriages exist?
Right, but then you're bringing up this hypothetical with the car crash. It's a 0.1%
No,
chance.
no,
It's
no.
also very low.
Caden. Well, actually, no, it's about a 50% chance, right? Anyways, so no, it's not guaranteed. And that's just a lie when you say it's guaranteed. Thank you for that, gamer cat. So when you say it's guaranteed to be like you and me, you're just lying.
Right, but it's extremely unlikely that it's not. Not extremely.
No,
Okay, I guess not
actually, it's not
extremely,
extremely unlikely,
but
right?
it is more
So,
likely
so
that
then
it would
therefore,
be.
it will only potentially be like you and me, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I don't value potentiality.
Right, but okay, so I just really don't see the whole like if you go and you have sex, this I'm
I've already
still stuck.
explained this to you. I've already explained the
I
analogy to you, and you said it wouldn't be the fault in the case of the drunk driver, but it would be the fault in the case of the mother. Stop circling, Caden.
right, I still don't think the analogy adds up enough to say that it's not the mother's
Yeah,
fault
explain to
that
me the
she's
symmetry
pregnant.
breaker.
What do you mean?
Explain to me the symmetry breaker between the car crash analogy and then the pregnancy analogy.
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking by that. If you could
Yeah,
explain
so
it,
you're
I
saying
will.
like they're not logically analogous. So when I outlined like one case of a mother like willfully consenting to pregnancy, and then this fruition of risk, comes in the case. Sorry, this mother willfully like consenting to sex, acknowledging the 0.01% chance or risk of a pregnancy, and then you're saying she's at fault for this pregnancy, right? So then what about a driver willfully consenting to driving and acknowledging the 0.01% chance risk of getting hit by a drunk driver, but then if he does, they're not at fault for getting hit by the drunk driver. Explain to me the logical symmetry breaker between those two ideas.
I guess for me, it would be the fact that if you get into okay, say someone T-bones you, a drunk driver, the correlation that I'm not seeming to get is, so if you get pregnant, abortion is an option. You can revert that entire process. The fetus is gone. You don't have to worry about it. But if you get into a crash, there is nothing that you can do after that. If you get into a crash, you're stuck with that. You took the risk. If you bear that risk and get hit, there is nothing you can do about that. You get hit,
Right.
your car,
Well, no,
your car
Kaden, you
damage, you're
don't think that
damaged.
abortion should be an option, right? You think it should be illegal. Therefore, like this isn't like morally relevant because you think it should be illegal. You don't think that abortion should be an option. So are you
I think
saying
it
that
should be
like
an option if people.
Now Kaden, are you saying that like if abortion was illegal, that like then this analogy would make sense and the mother would not be at fault?
If it was illegal,
Yeah, like she didn't have the option for an abortion.
I think in either stance, I would find it to be the mother's fault that she got pregnant.
Right. So then the option or the accessibility of an abortion doesn't matter. Next, what's the symmetry breaker between these two ideas?
Man, you're confusing me with all the big words, man. To be honest, I'm just
What's the symmetry breaker? What's the logical symmetry breaker between the analogies? If you can't answer the question, I'm just going to move on to the next guess.
you're gonna move on because I don't understand the question.
No, because you can't answer the question. What is the
Right, I just
difference? What is the logical difference between these concepts?
the car crash and the
The
abortion.
logical difference between
The
like
difference is that
what's a
the difference
logical difference?
the difference is that we're comparing a situation that has no option to revert, comparing it to a situation where you
Right.
have the option to
And then
revert.
under your world, abortion shouldn't be an option. There should be no option to revert. Therefore, that doesn't matter.
Right. I mean,
So
other
then, no,
than
no, Kaden, dude, are you listening to me? Like
yeah, I'm listening.
you still think that it'd be at the fault of the mother if she didn't have an option to revert. Therefore, the option to revert doesn't matter.
Well, I don't understand that.
Wait,
I don't
how? You're
I don't
saying that the
understand
mother
that.
has the option to get an abortion. So like this is the logical difference, right? But even if abortion was illegal and she didn't have that option, you still think that it would be her fault. Therefore, this isn't what matters.
Well, it's not that I think it would be the fault. If you have sex,
No,
you
so
acknowledge.
then what's the symmetry breaker between those two ideas? What
Well, I'm
is the
confused now
logical
because
difference between the two analogies? You can't tell me
but
what the logical difference is, but yet you're still saying that you're coming to different
right,
conclusions.
but a
So
minute
you're
ago
honestly
you
just being
acknowledged.
contradictive.
Right, but a minute ago you acknowledged that when you have sex, you are bearing a risk, and now somehow you're trying to tell
And
me
no, no,
that
no,
if.
no, not at all, right? And when you get into a car, you acknowledge that you bear the risk of getting T-boned by a drunk driver. Yet you don't say
So
that's the fault of that
are we
driver.
agreeing that when you have sex, you're bearing the risk of getting pregnant?
Yeah, and are you agreeing that when you hop in a car, you're bearing the risk of getting T-boned?
Yes, but so if you're going to
Yes.
acknowledge that there's a risk of getting pregnant, then how that kind of contradicts you saying that it's not the mother's fault she got pregnant. How
And
can you
just like
bear a
you
risk?
acknowledging the risk of getting T-boned when you get into the car, this kind of contradicts you saying that it's not the fault of you getting in the car that you got
Well,
T-boned.
I mean, the issue I'm having is one of them is a necessity and one of them is not. I mean, people have
Yeah,
to
so when I
drive.
get into my car to go get ice cream, that's not a necessity, and you still said it wouldn't be my fault, therefore this doesn't matter.
Right, but we're talking about why should abortion be illegal? We're not talking about just this one specific moment where you had to go get ice cream. I'm talking about real
No, I
life
didn't
in the
have to go
world
get
every
my.
day.
Yeah, no, it's called a logical analogy. It's called a Socratic method, and you're not getting it. And also,
Uh, but
driving
I,
isn't a necessity, right?
but it is.
Right. So if it's a necessity, then why do 40% of people in America not have a car?
It's a necessity. Okay, but then we could figure out the amount of people that are homeless. I mean, there are some people that don't have cars because
Yeah,
they don't
no.
have
Why?
homes.
If it's a necessity, then why does public transportation exist?
Right, but it doesn't exist to everyone, nor is everyone able
Yeah. So,
to.
Kaden, what? Yeah. So I'm outlining a case where it's not a necessity. Crystal, thank you for that money gun. Like, dude, stop being dense. I'm outlining a case where it's not a necessity, and then you're still saying it's not my fault. So if it is or isn't a necessity, it doesn't matter because you're still saying it's not my fault if it isn't a necessity.
Right. I guess you got me on a lot of these points, but the part I'm still stuck on is if we're acknowledging that there's a risk of getting pregnant when you have sex, that completely contradicts saying that it would
So
not
then
be the mother's
why
fault.
aren't you saying that it's your fault if you get into a car and drive with the acknowledgement of the risk of getting T-boned?
Because if you said you get T-boned by a drunk driver, which means a completely different conscious being had to make the wrong decision to get drunk, get in their car, and drive irresponsibly. There's a lot of other factors in that situation,
Yeah, the
whereas
other
being
factor would be
sexist,
something that you can't control, right?
right? But you can
Can you
control
can can
having
you
sex.
control can you control the biological process of pregnancy?
No, you cannot.
In the same way that you can't control that drunk driver T-boning you?
No, you cannot. I just think there's more
Exactly.
factors in this drunk driving situation than
No,
sex.
no, come on, dude. Come on. You just said it yourself. You can't control either.
Right, but I'm just when you have sex, it's two people being consensual, assuming that we're talking about consensual sex and not rape. Because I think if you're raped, this
Right.
like
Just like you're
situations like that,
consenting to getting into the car, right?
right,
Right. So they're both consenting to this action.
right. So
Do you
you
have
so you're
someone
telling
whispering in your ear telling you what to say?
no, I don't. I promise.
Yeah, I hear them.
No, I promise. No one's telling me
No,
what
I
to say. I
hear
have nothing.
them.
I'm
I
on my
hear
phone.
them.
If I
No,
swiped off my
kid,
screen,
and I hear them.
right, but they're not whispering to me. You asked me a question, I told you the answer. We're having a debate. I'm not going to lie to you. You asked me if someone was whispering, and I said no.
Right, Caden. So you're being dense because you're not acknowledging the analogy and you haven't pointed out the logical symmetry breaker. I'm about to move on
No,
to
I
the next
am, and
guest.
I. All right, that's embarrassing, dude. You
And
just want to kick me.
it's not embarrassing. You're just being
It is
dense and you can't
well
acknowledge
because
the
I
symmetry
joined your live
breaker.
the other
No,
night,
Caden,
and
I'm
you
gonna
were
make this, Caden, I'm gonna make this abundantly clear. So what's going on is you're like, oh, in this one case, it isn't your fault if this risk comes to fruition, but in this other case, it is your fault. And in both cases, it's the same risk. In both cases, you're consenting to this risk, and in both cases, you cannot control this risk. They're exactly the same.
I just don't think so. I mean, I see a lot of people
Then
seeing
tell me the
LD.
symmetry breaker. If you don't think so, then tell me the logical difference.
Right. Well, the difference is all these other factors for your situation to be true.
Such
There's a
as,
lot,
such
such
as.
as such as the drunk driving, the you're driving at the same time that a drunk driver is driving. Like, there's a lot of different things to make this statement true. These different factors.
Right,
But when you talk about
right.
sex,
So, what about the other things that have to make this true for the acknowledgement of your risk, such as the fact that the woman has to be ovulating, the woman cannot be pregnant, and the man must possess like a sperm count over a certain amount, and these circumstances must digress or be similar in this attribute. No, there's a lot of factors, but these factors only add up to a particular risk, and it's the risk at the end of the day that matters, right? So, there's going to be multitude of factors in both cases that would proclude to the same risk of 0.01%. And it is that risk that matters. Like these other external factors constitute that risk. And both of these risks are extremely nuanced and intricate. Thank you so much for the tiny air balloons. I really
right?
appreciate
But
you, Anthony.
we're talking about abortion. So assuming that
And we're
abortion is
talking
an
about
option,
a logical analogy, right? And assuming that, and you said this yourself, abortion isn't an option, aka it's illegal, you still think it'd be the mother's fault. So therefore, the fact that abortion is or isn't an option is not morally relevant.
but for abortion to even be an option, that means we've already passed all these risks. This woman was ovulating. This woman did like all these things already
Yeah,
happened
but no,
for
Caden,
abortion.
what? No, listen. You think abortion should be illegal. If abortion was illegal, would this still be the fault of the mother?
It would
Thank
be
you
the
for the
fault of both of
champion.
them.
Right. So it doesn't matter if that option exists. You still think it's the fault of the mother. So what's the logical symmetry breaker? Anthony, thank you for the champion.
Hey, yes, dude, I don't understand these like the symmetry
Caden,
breaker.
I
I
know,
don't.
because you don't know what you're saying. You don't know
I
what you're
am
saying,
aware of what I'm
Caden.
saying. I'm just not
No, no, no,
exactly
no.
sure if that's
What
what you're
is the
aiming.
logical difference between the analogies?
The difference, I've explained that to you, is that the analogy you're using, I'm failing to completely concept because there's all these different factors that I'm not
Yeah, there's
seeing how
just
they
as many
correlate.
factors that exist within pregnancy.
Right, but in this drunk driving scenario, this is a whole scenario where you can't revert the outcome. If this happens, this
And
happens. You can't do
Caden, you
anything
still
about it.
think it'd be the fault of the mother if you couldn't revert the outcome of pregnancy.
All right, so what's your standpoint on vasectomies then?
Cool. They're cool.
They're cool.
Yeah, but this isn't acknowledging the symmetry breaker between the two ideas. You've made me lose over 2,000 viewers, Caden. I just want to point that out.
I don't think it's necessarily my fault.
Yeah, no, because you can't answer the question. Like here's what you're doing. You're saying it is the fault of the mother that she got pregnant, because like she engaged in the act of sex and the sex carried a risk. So why would it not be the fault of you if you engaged in the act of driving and that driving carried the risk of getting T-boned? The same
Right,
risk. It was the same exact risk.
well, I don't think the risk would be the exact same if you
No, no,
talked
no. It
about
is.
percent
No, we're
wise.
talking about the exact same percent risk. Paper that
You're
paper's
telling me
right.
that there's the exact same percent
Yeah,
risk that
yeah.
you get
In
T-boned
this
as you get.
analogy, there's going to be the exact same percentage risk.
Is that true though? Is it really
Yes,
the
in the
same chance
analogy, it
that you
is the
get
exact
T-boned?
same risk.
Well, I'm failing to see that because that just wouldn't be
No,
true. I mean,
Kaden,
it's not true
I'm
that
literally telling you that it is the exact same risk in this analogy. You can't
in this
just
analogy you're
reject my
giving me, right?
hypothetical,
But
right? So in this
Right, but
analogy, is it the fault of the driver?
the person who got hit,
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't be their fault.
So then it shouldn't be the fault of the
But
mother for getting pregnant.
I just that those analogies are really really difficult because,
Okay,
like I
so then
said,
what's the
driving
difference
is
between
something.
the analogies? What's the moral difference between the analogies? Thank you for the hand
The
art.
difference is that we don't need to have sex. We do not need
Yeah,
to
and I
bear
don't
this
need
risk.
to
This is
hop in my car to go get ice cream, right?
okay. So I guess the difference I'm seeing is that okay. So with pregnancy, you can choose to bear this risk when you're ready to bear this risk. And if you're getting into your car accepting there's a risk that you get hit, you're ready. I mean, I've been in an accident. I'm aware there's a risk, and I was ready to bear that risk, and it happened, and I
Yeah,
had to
so
deal
was
with
it
it.
your fault?
No, it was not my fault, but
So
I
then
was aware
so
that.
that's all we're asserting, right? Is that it's not the fault of the mother for getting pregnant?
But it is the fault of the mother
Yeah,
for
so
getting
that's
pregnant.
so now that's the symmetry breaker. Come on, consistency
But they're
matters.
two completely different scenarios.
So
I
then
get
tell
the
me what is
analogy,
morally or logically different about the scenarios. You still can't answer that question. You just keep repeating yourself without reason.
the difference is that we're
Thank you,
comparing
Anthony.
a potential human life to a car crash. I get the logic you're using. I understand that part, but they're two
Oh man, I'm
completely
just
different
kidding.
scenarios.
Kidding. Look, you can't tell me what's like morally or logically different. I'm gonna go to move on to the next guest here. Yeah, we tried chat. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest here, chat. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest here, chat. Oh, this topic is not performing that well. Why do like none of my topics? Yeah, I knew that. As soon as I dropped them, all the L's were gonna come. But you know, that's fine, man. I appreciate those roses. I don't understand like why like none of my topics except for like the why is being gay wrong topic like just perform so poorly. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest here, chat. Let's go ahead and get Cat up here, guys. Let's go and get Cat up here. All right, let's go ahead and get our next guest up here. Let's go talk to Pookie. Yeah, that guest was kind of slow. It's okay. What's up? Do you think that abortion should be illegal? Hello? All right, moving on here. Let's go ahead and talk to our next guest. Yeah, that was mostly the guest. Yeah, guys, you know, if we're going to come up here, make sure that we're not being dense, chat. That's all. Just make sure we're not being dense. What's up, Jess? Do you think that it should be illegal to get an abortion? Do you think that abortion is wrong?
I do.
Okay, why?
Because it's human life, you know? It's
Okay.
that's
So,
as simple as it is. Like the second conception happens, there's life. Like the
and is
second,
ending human life always bad?
yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't
self-defense is bad?
if you're killing somebody,
Yeah, Jess, is self-defense bad?
self-defense in a can you elaborate?
Yeah, so if I end a human life in self-defense, is that bad?
If you end a life in self-defense, is that bad?
Hmm.
So I think
So
at the end
therefore,
of the
ending
day,
human life isn't always bad, right?
it's
So
not
now,
always
so now,
bad.
so now, tell me why ending the life of a fetus is wrong.
Ending the no, first of all, it's not a fetus. I
It's a
know
medical
you
term,
I
right?
know you people love to call it a
All right, Jess,
fetus.
I'll call it whatever you want to call it.
I know you guys love to call it a
Jess,
fetus.
I will literally call it whatever you want me to call it. I don't care.
It's
That's
a
just the
child,
medical.
it's a baby, it's a
All right,
human.
yeah. So yeah, why is it wrong to kill this child and baby in the womb?
Because it's murder. It's like literally just your like
So the
morals.
definition of murder is going to be like an unjustified unaliving of another human, right? And I don't think that this action is going to be unjustified. In fact, I think it's going to be justified out of the respect for the mother's bodily autonomy and out of respect for the fact that that fetus does not have any trace of personhood, such as consciousness, a higher level of rationale, sentience, desires, or rights, right?
Ay, ay, ay. Was that a question?
No, that was a statement. That's why I think it's justified.
That's why you think it's justified.
All right, so now refute that justification.
So, um, you there. It's like after what 4 weeks, there's a heartbeat.
It's about 5.
About 5 weeks, right?
All right.
So you're willing to eliminate a of human with a heartbeat because you chose to engage in sexual
I
activities
don't
that you
think
had.
that eliminating things with heartbeats is going to be wrong. Do you eat hamburgers? Thank you for that,
I was
marvelous.
literally just listening to this, and that's the most ridiculous like
Jess,
idea
do you eat
I've heard.
hamburgers? Yes or no?
I do eat
Yeah.
hamburgers.
So cows have heartbeats, right?
But the difference is a cow is an animal. We eat meat. We're humans.
Right. So now outline to me like the differences between that cow and the human that make it okay to unalive the cow, but not okay to unalive the human.
A human will eventually come out of a woman and grow into a living, breathing human just like me and you.
All right. So what if
A
it didn't breathe?
cow,
I
a
mean, wait, no, no.
cow,
Cows are living and breathing. What?
cows are living and breathing, yeah.
All
But we
right.
eat cows. Do you eat a baby?
So if someone did get an abortion and ate the baby, would that be okay?
That's absolutely not okay. You don't
Right.
understand
So
what I'm
you know,
saying.
so you just said it's okay to unalive a cow because you eat it, right? So let's just see if this logic holds. If like you get an abortion to eat the fetus, would that abortion be justified? No. So it
You,
seems as if like
I
this
watch your
fact that we
debates. You know how
no,
long I've
Jess,
been
Jess,
waiting
Jess,
to
Jess,
get
Jess,
on
Jess,
here?
right? So Jess, you just said it's okay. You just said it's okay to unalive the cow because we eat it, but in this case where we unalive the fetus to eat it, you still say it want to be justified. So that obviously does not mean that it's okay to unalive a cow because we eat it, because that logic does
You
not
make the
hold
most like
universally.
radical claims
They're
sometimes.
not radical. They're just logical, right?
No, it's a little radical, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, I'm just taking your logic and applying it in another case, right?
Okay.
So what like attributes does the cow not possess that the human does possess that makes it immoral
Okay.
to
I'm not
unalive a
even gonna
human?
get so there's no way you're gonna know this. I'm not even gonna get into the whole a cow can't think for itself. A cow
Can
can't
it
do this.
can a fetus think for itself?
It at a certain point,
No, it can't, right?
at a
So
certain point, it starts to move. There's a heartbeat, a brain forms, eyes form, arms,
yeah, there's
legs.
eyes,
When you see,
there's
no, 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 no.
dude, there's
Let me
arms,
finish.
legs, brains, eye movement
Let
in
me
cows too.
finish.
So
Let me finish, Dean. When a babe, have you seen pictures of aborted babies? Have you seen?
yeah, sure, I
No,
have.
no. Occasionally, and most of the time, when a baby is ripped from its mother's womb, it is
Right,
completely a human. Arms, legs, eyes, head, heart,
right.
hands,
So now
toes.
this is just like an appeal to aesthetics, right? So what if it didn't look like a human until like 3 seconds before it came out of the womb? Would you say it's like okay to get an abortion when it doesn't look like a human?
What'd you say?
Is it okay to get an abortion when it doesn't look like a human?
Absolutely not.
Right. So it looking like a human is not relevant.
But it is a human. That's the difference. That's a human
Right. But
being.
you just said abortion's wrong because it has arms, feet, like hands, legs, and
I
toes.
just
Well,
saw
like what if it
somebody
didn't?
say it can't survive on its own, but when a baby
Jess,
comes,
Jess, I need you to answer my question. What attributes does a human possess that cows do not possess that cause it to be okay to unalive the cow but not the human? Thank you for the love you.
what?
What attributes does a cow like do humans possess that cows don't possess that cause it to be okay to unalive a cow but not a human?
A cow is an animal.
All right, so we're animals too. Homo sapiens sapiens are part of the animal kingdom, right? But that's not an attribute. That's just a title.
It's literally an animal, though. We eat
Yeah,
them
that's not an right, right. So why is it okay to eat them?
because we eat animals. We eat.
Right. So why is it okay to eat them though? Is it okay to eat them because we eat them? So could I just say it's okay to get an abortion because we get abortions? That doesn't make sense.
So why it's okay to get abortions? I don't, you. You want to explain to me like your perspective on why abortion should be okay,
Yeah,
and
so
then
I think
maybe
that
I can.
abortion is going to be justified because we have epistemic certainty surrounding the fact of the mother's personhood and moral status. We have epistemic uncertainty surrounding like the fetus's moral like personhood and moral status, and like in consideration to the fact that the fetus is like infringing upon the mother's bodily autonomy, and the gentlest means necessary of ending this infringement is going to be abortion pre-viability. This would be a very strong case as to why it's going to be okay to get an abortion. Thank you for the hand arts, right? And this just all follows under Kantian deontology.
At the end of the day,
Can you
I
refute
guess
my argument at all?
what exact? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't really think
Dude,
like
thank you
you're
for the
shaking
roses.
your head. You're shaking your
Yeah,
head, but
so
at the end of the
critique my
day, you
argument
have to have
exactly.
like
Jess, critique my argument.
what's give me the question because I'm really not like
Yeah, so would you say it's okay to unalive a cow because it isn't conscious to like the same degree that we are and doesn't possess rationale to the same degree that we have?
yes, it's a
Right,
cow.
so does a fetus possess consciousness at all? Does a fetus have any level of rationale? No. So
No, but it's
should
a
it be okay to
human.
unalive
It's
them?
murder.
So right. Let's look at it this way. What if that cow did possess the same level of like rationale and consciousness that we did? Would it be okay to unalive it? Thank you for that hat and mustache.
If it did possess the same
Thank you
consciousness
for that
that
star.
humans possessed,
Yeah, would it be okay to unalive that cow still?
no.
Right? So therefore, it doesn't matter that it's a human. What all that matters is these traits that humanity generally has, such as consciousness and a higher level of rationale. Right? But the fetus doesn't possess those.
I just don't I don't get where you like exactly where you people come from. Like honestly.
Bro,
Because
critique
at
what I'm
the
saying. Jess, you just said it's okay to unalive a cow because it doesn't have the same level of consciousness and rationale as we do. Why is it not okay to unalive a fetus that does not possess, which does not possess
because
any
it
level of
will one
consciousness or
day
rationale?
because it will after all the whole pregnancy 9 months comes out it is a human being
Right. So
and
if
you're making the
if the
argument
fetus,
no
if
no no
the,
no
so
let me
this is
finish.
it'll potentially be a person like you or I, right? Just like a sperm cell will potentially be a person like you or I. So do you think that like masturbation is like mass genocide?
Let me finish my statement.
Do you
So
think that masturbation is mass genocide?
I'm gonna finish my statement.
Okay, sweet.
Okay,
Jesus Christ, man.
that's cute. So um you're basically saying like the whole thing is that there's not a level of consciousness, right? But when
There's
a
no level of
baby
consciousness.
the okay. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. So like you remember that one guy who was on the whatever podcast and he debated and with the other woman who's pro life, and he was like, well, what about people in a coma?
They have past
You just
desires. Does the
you
fetus have
just
past
kill them.
desires?
You just kill them.
No, Jess. The person in the coma has past desires to live. Does the
And
fetus have a
the
past desire
person
to
who
live?
is in the womb has
Does
potential to live.
Right, so Jess, but what I'm saying is, does that fetus have past desires to live?
Has potential to live. What do you
Right. So,
not
anyways, going on to
understand?
the potential live in the same way that that a sperm cell has the same potential for life.
If
Would you
it,
say
it
that
a
masturbation is? Now,
sperm,
to answer my question.
no.
Thank you for that, Jim. Thank you for that, Jim Gunn. Right. So yes, like potentiality does exist within that fetus to like live in the same way that you and I do. Right.
Okay,
But
so you're saying a
potentiality
sperm
also now
cell.
listen now just listen, man. Potentiality also exists within sperm cells to live like you and I do, right?
You
So
do.
if it's wrong to unalive a fetus because of that potentiality, is masturbation going to be immoral because of that potentiality?
Okay, so to create human life, I don't know if you knew this or not, Dean, but masturbating, you're ejaculating your sperm. What do you need to create human life?
Right. So it
So
creates a
that
sperm and
makes
an egg,
no
right? So
sense
Jess, wait, if human life is created, then why did you say that the fetus only possesses potential to live?
because it will be whether you have a miscarriage or
Right.
not, it is still the potential of a human being. That's what it
Right, and the
is.
same potentiality exists within sperm. They're unique DNA in the same sense that that potentiality would exist within any egg, in the same sense that this potentiality would exist within, like, a conceived embryo, right?
What?
Dude,
You broke.
I'm not
You just
having like
broke
fun
up.
with this topic, man.
You
I'm not
broke up.
having fun with this topic at all,
You
chat.
broke up. Would you
I'm
like
not
to
having
repeat
fun with this
yourself?
topic. No, I really don't. We're not getting anywhere with this topic, guys. We're not getting anywhere with this topic. we're not we're not going anywhere. Switch. Should we switch topics, guys? Should we switch topics? It's like every single day for the last week, we have tried different topics besides why is it wrong to be gay, and every single time they have performed like shit. Every single time they have performed like shit, right? And then every single time we just end up switching right back to why is it wrong to be gay. So, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and switch our topics here, chat. Back to the one, the only, why is it wrong to be gay? Collab with Parker? I do want to collab with Parker. I know, guys. I know. It's like every single time we try a new topic, it doesn't work. Guys, I'm seriously, I'm going to figure out something soon. Oh wait. Oh, Parker's down to do it right now. Parker's down to do it right now. Yeah, yeah. Okay, guys, we're actually gonna go over to Parker's stream. We're gonna co-host with Parker. Oh, this is great. This is great, guys. We're gonna co-host with Parker. Um, so we're gonna send everyone over to Parker's stream. We're gonna hit a co-host with him. Let's go. This is actually perfect timing. He just texted me back. He unironically just texted me back. So, guys, we're going to be doing a co-host with Parker for the rest of the night. I don't know why, like, I'm just figuring out my topics here. So, anyways, everyone go over to @Parker, get a job on TikTok. Everyone go into his chat and spam @DeanRaid. We're going to be doing a co-host with Parker, y'all. We're going to be doing a co-host with Parker here, chats. So everyone go in Parker's chat right now and spam @DeanRaid. I'm going to be heading over there myself, and I'm going to be doing a co-host with him. So everyone go over there literally right now. Co-host with Parker. Here we fucking go, guys. I will be live, but live with Parker, y'all. I will see y'all very, very shortly on Parker's stream.